You are not my daughter. I refuse to acknowledge you as my child. I feel immense hatred toward myself for giving birth to a terrible girl like you." A 12-year-old girl discovered she was pregnant after breaking up with her boyfriend. She was utterly confused and terrified because she couldn't understand how it had happened. She hadn't shared any kind of physical intimacy with her boyfriend that could lead to pregnancy, so the thought of being pregnant seemed impossible to her. She spent her days anxious, overthinking, and gripped with fear. One day, her mother found out about the pregnancy. When the girl's mother informed her father, he was overcome with anger, grief, and humiliation. With tears in his eyes, he shouted at her in a fit of rage, "I refuse to accept you as my daughter. I feel disgusted with myself for bringing a girl like you into this world." There was a girl named Adiba, a 12-year-old 7th grader. She was the only child of her parents. Adiba's parents loved her deeply and cherished her immensely. Adiba could sense that her parents showered her with extra care and affection because she had no siblings. Since her childhood, Adiba's parents had been extremely protective of her and never allowed her out of their sight. When Adiba was enrolled in their local village school, her mother accompanied her every single day. Her mother would take her to school in the morning and bring her back home after school hours. However, the village school offered education only up to the 5th grade. As a result, when Adiba completed her primary education, she had to be admitted to a high school situated far from their village, close to the town. Due to the long distance, it became increasingly difficult for Adiba's mother to escort her to school and back every day. One day, Adiba's mother finally voiced her frustration. "I can't keep doing this every day anymore. It's so exhausting for me as a woman to go such a long way daily. I have to wake up early in the morning, finish all the housework, and then take Adiba to school. Afterward, I have to go and bring her back as well. If it were still the village school, it wouldn't have been this difficult. But this high school is so far away that it's becoming impossible for me to handle this anymore." Adiba's mother raised her voice, emphasizing her point. "You must come up with a solution. I can't do this anymore." Listening to her distress, Adiba's father tried to calm her down and replied, "Don't get upset. I will figure out a way to ease your burden. But you must understand that I have a job too, and I need to go to work every day. So, I can't take her to school myself either. Let me go to the school tomorrow, and I'll see if I can make any arrangements to resolve this situation." Adiba's mother sighed and nodded. "All right, fine. I'll wait to see what you decide." The next morning, after they had finished their breakfast, Adiba and her father set out for the school together. After reaching the school, Adiba's father told her, "Go to your classroom and attend the class. I have some important work to do. I will call you when necessary. Focus on your studies." Adiba replied, "All right, Dad." After Adiba went to the classroom, her father started observing the school surroundings and noticed that there were hostel rooms for students along with the school. Adiba's father thought to himself, "Since it is difficult to bring Adiba to school from home and then take her back every day, I will arrange for her to stay in the hostel." Adiba's father immediately went to the headmaster's room. When he entered, he saw the headmaster sitting inside. Adiba's father said, "Sir, I am Adiba's father. Adiba is one of the students at your school." The headmaster replied, "Oh, I see. All right, I understand. Do you want to say something? Or do you have any complaints about our school?" Adiba's father responded, "No, sir, I have not come to complain about your school. I am here for an important matter. Actually, the school is quite far from our village, so it has become very difficult for me and Adiba's mother to bring her to school and then take her back every day. Therefore, I have decided to arrange for Adiba to stay in the hostel here. I believe it will benefit her studies as well, and we will not have to struggle to bring her to school anymore." The headmaster replied, "Oh, I see. Don't worry about that. The hostel rooms at our school are very safe. We have been running this school responsibly for many years, and there have never been any problems. You can prepare your daughter to stay in the hostel without any concerns." Adiba's father left the headmaster's room and went towards Adiba's classroom. Standing in front of the classroom, he saw that Adiba's class was ongoing, and the teacher was explaining a topic to the students on the blackboard. Adiba's father addressed the teacher, saying, "Hello, sir. How are you?" "I am Adiba's father." The teacher replied, "I am good. How are you?" Adiba's father answered, "I am also doing well." Then he said, "Actually, sir, we are planning to have Adiba stay in the school hostel. What do you think? Since the distance from our home to the school is quite far, it has become very difficult for us to bring her here and then take her back every day." The teacher replied, "Yes, that would be a very good idea. You can safely and confidently have your daughter stay in the school hostel." Adiba's father said, "All right, sir, thank you. Sir, may I take my daughter home early today? Since we have decided to keep her in the hostel, I want to take her home now to prepare everything, her books, notebooks, and other belongings, so that she can start staying in the hostel from tomorrow." The teacher replied, "Of course you can take her now." On their way home from school, Adiba's father explained everything to her. Upon hearing it, Adiba immediately started crying. Through her tears, she said, "Dad, I won't be able to live without you and Mom. No matter how hard it is, I'll go to school on my own and come back home by myself." Her father replied, "No, Adiba, we are saying this for your own good. This will be better for you, and it will help you focus more on your studies. You already know how far the school is from our home. It has become very difficult for us to take you to school and bring you back every day. Your mother has to handle all the household chores, and I have to stay at the office from morning until evening. So tell me, how can we manage to take you to school and bring you back every day?" Adiba began to think about the situation. Once they reached home, Adiba's father explained everything to her mother. Adiba's mother then said, "This will be good if it's done because traveling such a long distance to school is very exhausting for me. If the school were closer, like the village school, it wouldn't have been a problem." Adiba said, "Mom, I don't think I can live without you and Dad." Her mother replied, "To achieve something good in life, you have to endure some hardships. Besides, going to school and coming back every day is tiring for you too. And because of that, you can't focus properly on your studies. That's why it will be better for you to stay in the hostel and concentrate on your education. Your father and I will visit you from time to time to see how you're doing." Adiba then responded, "All right, since you both are insisting so much, I won't oppose your decision anymore. I will pack all my study materials and necessary items today. Starting tomorrow, I'll stay in the hostel." Her father said, "Yes, absolutely. Pack everything you need right now. Tomorrow morning, we'll take you to the hostel as early as possible. After dropping you off at the hostel, I'll have to go to the office because I couldn't attend work today to take you to school. If I don't go tomorrow, it could create issues for my job." Adiba nodded and said to her father, "All right, Dad, don't worry. I'll organize everything properly so that we can leave early tomorrow morning." The next morning, after finishing their breakfast, Adiba and her parents left for the school early. Eventually, they arrived at the school and dropped Adiba off at the hostel. While leaving, Adiba's parents told her, "If you need anything, let us know. Take care of yourself and focus on your studies." Thus began Adiba's hostel life. Growing up in a peaceful and rural environment, Adiba now, for the first time, started living in a city hostel. It was a new place, with new people, and she was now facing new experiences. On the very first day, Adiba realized how different this was from her familiar village. Instead of sitting and eating at home, everyone ate together in the dining hall, and the lights had to be turned off at a fixed time at night. Her roommates were from different districts, and everyone's lifestyles and habits were unique. Even though this change posed a challenge for her, it also brought opportunities to learn new things and adapt to her surroundings. How Adiba would adjust to this new life remained to be seen. Slowly but surely, Adiba started trying to adapt. She accepted the new environment, new rules, and began focusing on her studies. However, this was just the beginning. Soon, the real story would unfold. Adiba's school had two hostels, one for boys and one for girls. Although the boys' hostel was quite far from the girls' hostel, interactions or meetings between the two were not entirely impossible. One day, during a cultural event at school, Adiba got into a conversation with a boy named Ripon. Ripon was a student in the boys' hostel and also Adiba's classmate. Their interaction began as a simple friendship, but over time, that friendship blossomed into a deep love. Ripon was very intelligent, and his polite behavior made Adiba feel that he was a genuinely well-mannered person. He helped Adiba with her studies, and the two spent time together in the library under the pretext of studying. Gradually, their relationship turned into a secret love story between the girls' hostel and the boys' hostel. However, Adiba had no idea that her involvement in a romantic relationship with Ripon would lead her life astray. One day, Adiba's parents came to visit her at the hostel. They were delighted to see that their daughter had adapted to the new environment and was studying while staying so far from home. But they noticed something unusual about Adiba's behavior. Her parents observed that Adiba seemed a little restless, as if she was hiding something. They asked her, "Adiba, is there any problem? If there's any issue, please tell us. Are you facing any difficulty staying here? Or is there something you need?" Adiba replied, "No, I don't have any problems. It's just that I stayed up late last night studying, so I'm feeling very sleepy." However, her parents could sense that Adiba was hiding something. They told her, "All right, you stay here and study well. We have to return home now." Adiba's mother took a lunchbox out of her bag and handed it to her, saying, "Here's some of your favorite food. Eat it and focus on your studies. We'll come to visit you again." After saying this, her parents left. Now let's get to the main incident. Why was Adiba feeling upset? Had something bad happened to her? The truth was that Adiba was deeply in love with Ripon. But Ripon had said something to her that had left her feeling distraught. Ripon had made an inappropriate proposal to Adiba. He had suggested that they engage in a physical relationship. In response, Adiba told Ripon, "No, I can't do such a bad thing. Yes, it's true that I love you very much. Let's finish our studies first. After our studies, when we get married, we'll have plenty of time for all this. But I cannot do it now." Hearing these words, Ripon became angry and walked away from Adiba. As he left, Ripon said, "From today onward, there's no relationship between you and me. From now on, I won't try to contact you, and you shouldn't try to contact me either." Ripon also told her, "You don't love me. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have refused." Adiba replied, "If love depends on physical relations, then I don't need that kind of love." Since that day, Adiba had been feeling down. She didn't try to talk to Ripon, nor did Ripon try to speak with her. It was only because of this that Adiba's mood was so low when her parents visited her at the hostel. A few days later, one day after class, all the students were chatting and gossiping in the school field in the afternoon. Adiba was there as well, talking and discussing various topics with her classmates and friends. At that moment, Ripon approached Adiba and said, "Adiba, I need to talk to you." The friends who were with Adiba assumed that Ripon probably wanted to discuss something about studies. Adiba told her friends, "You all stay here and keep talking. I'll just go and talk to Ripon for a while." Adiba and Ripon talked in a way that seemed like they were just classmates. The reason was that no one knew yet that they had been or still were in a relationship. Anyway, Adiba and Ripon walked a little distance away and began talking. Ripon said to Adiba, "Adiba, please forget about that day and forgive me. I only wanted to test you to see what kind of person you are. You've passed the test, Adiba. I really love you a lot. Do you know why I haven't spoken to you all this time? It's because I wanted to see what you would do, whether you would accept my proposal or not." Adiba, in tears, replied, "You tested my love for you? Do you know how much pain I endured day and night during that time? I kept thinking that I was in love with someone who only wanted my body and didn't love me for who I am. That's why you wanted to have a physical relationship with me. But hearing what you said today makes me feel like finding someone who loves me like you is truly a blessing." Adiba believed that Ripon genuinely loved her, but the reality was entirely different. In truth, Ripon said those things to Adiba just to restore their relationship. He pretended to make Adiba feel better and regain her trust, but Ripon had bad intentions. He was only looking for opportunities to get closer to Adiba and ultimately ruin her life. Adiba, being a simple and innocent girl, couldn't even suspect that Ripon was merely pretending to love her. A month later, Adiba's parents came to visit her at the hostel again. But this time, Adiba seemed happy. She greeted her parents and asked, "How are you both doing?" Her parents replied, "Yes, we're doing well. How are you?" Adiba responded, "Yes, I'm doing great too." Adiba's father asked, "How is your studies going, Adiba?" Adiba replied, "Yes, Dad, my studies are going really well. I'm focusing a lot on my studies, so you don't have to worry about anything." Adiba's parents were happy because they saw that their daughter was happy. The first time they had visited, Adiba was feeling very down. They felt relieved and joyful, thinking that Adiba had fully adapted to hostel life. Her parents assumed that Adiba's previous sadness was just because it was her first time living away from home in a hostel. But now that she had fully adjusted to the new environment, she seemed content. That day, Adiba's parents said goodbye to her and left. A few days later, Ripon and Adiba's relationship seemed to be going well. One day, Ripon said to Adiba, "Let's go somewhere far away for a trip. There's a holiday coming up soon. Since we have to stay in the school and hostel most of the time during classes, it would be refreshing for us if we went somewhere far away. It'll make us feel better and freshen our minds." Adiba replied, "Under what pretense would we go on a trip? There are our classmates in school. What will we tell them? If we go like this, they'll get suspicious." Ripon responded, "If necessary, you can take a few of your classmates along. You should tell your classmates today that since there's a school holiday coming up, we'll go somewhere for a trip." Following Ripon's suggestion, Adiba told a few of her trusted female classmates about the plan, one of whom was her roommate. They agreed to the idea. Adiba added, "I'll share a secret with you today, and I trust you not to tell anyone." Her classmates replied, "All right, tell us. We won't tell anyone." Adiba said, "Ripon will come with us. Actually, Ripon and I love each other. We've been in a relationship for a long time. I didn't tell you before because I didn't want any issues to arise in school if the matter became known. But today I had to tell you because you might ask why Ripon would join us, so I couldn't keep it a secret any longer." Her classmates replied, "All right, that's fine. Love isn't a bad thing. But remember, Adiba, don't let this relationship harm your studies. Finish your studies first and then get married." A few days later, on the scheduled day, Adiba, Ripon, and a few of their classmates went on an outing. They reached a picnic spot in a secluded area of the city. Surrounded by the beauty of nature, the chirping of birds, and the tranquility, Adiba felt a deep sense of joy. Ripon had planned the entire outing in such a way that Adiba wouldn't suspect anything. By the end of the day, all the classmates were exhausted. Ripon found an opportunity to talk to Adiba alone in a corner of the picnic spot. Taking advantage of everyone's distraction, Ripon took Adiba a little farther away. He said to her, "I brought a special drink for you. Drink this, you'll feel good." Although Adiba initially felt uneasy, she trusted Ripon and accepted the drink. The drink was actually part of Ripon's premeditated plan. He had mixed something into it that caused Adiba to lose consciousness. Gradually, Adiba began to feel weak and eventually passed out completely. Ripon seized the opportunity to carry out his malicious intentions. When Adiba was completely unaware of her surroundings, she was utterly defenseless. Ripon took advantage of the situation and carried out his vile act. The incident was executed so cunningly that Adiba couldn't comprehend anything. After some time, when Adiba regained consciousness, Ripon said, "What happened to you? Why did you faint?" Ripon spoke in such a way that Adiba wouldn't suspect anything. Adiba replied, "I suddenly felt a strange unease in my head, and then I think I passed out." Ripon said, "I was so scared. If anything had happened to you, what would I have told everyone?" Adiba, still trusting Ripon completely, did not suspect him at all. Afterward, they returned to their classmates. The classmates asked, "Where were you two?" Adiba replied, "Oh, we just went for a little walk over there." And so, the incident ended that day. About 45 days later, Adiba's parents came to the hostel again to visit their daughter. This time, they said, "You've been here for a long time. We haven't just come to see you. We've come to take you home. You'll stay with us at home for a few days and then come back here. It'll refresh your mind, and you'll feel better." Adiba herself had been thinking for a while about visiting her village home for a few days. Since her parents had now come to take her, she agreed to go with them. Adiba told her parents, "I have something important to discuss with a friend. Please wait here for a while. I'll be back." That day, Adiba went to speak with Ripon and told him, "I'm going to my village home for a few days. Don't worry about me. I'll be back soon." Later, Adiba and her parents took permission from the headmaster and left for the village home. One morning, Adiba woke up and noticed that her head was spinning and her vision was blurry. She thought to herself, "What's happening to me? Why do I feel like this?" Adiba shouted, "Mom!" Her mother rushed to her. Adiba's mother saw her daughter lying unconscious on the bed. Not knowing what to do, she panicked. Adiba's father wasn't home at the time. He had already finished breakfast and left for the office. Adiba's mother sprinkled some water on her face, and gradually, Adiba regained consciousness. Her mother asked, "What happened to you, Adiba?" Adiba replied, "Mom, when I woke up this morning, I felt an intense headache and dizziness. On top of that, my vision became blurry. I couldn't see anything clearly in front of me." 2 days later, the same thing happened again. This time, Adiba's mother became seriously worried. She decided to take her daughter to a doctor. Since Adiba's father would leave early for the office after breakfast, Adiba and her mother went to see the doctor by themselves. Adiba explained everything to the doctor. The doctor said, "All right, I'll recommend some tests. Once we have the test results, we'll be able to determine the cause and find a solution." After completing all the tests, when the reports came out, both Adiba and her mother were utterly shocked. Adiba and her mother learned from the doctor that Adiba was pregnant. Adiba's mother was utterly at a loss and couldn't figure out what to do. Without wasting any time, she took Adiba back home. Once they reached home, in a fit of rage, she confronted Adiba and said, "How did you become pregnant? Don't you feel any shame? Disgusting." Adiba, on the other hand, couldn't understand how she had become pregnant. She had never done anything with Ripon that could lead to this. Crying, Adiba explained everything to her mother. She told her mother about her relationship with Ripon and said, "Mom, trust your daughter. I haven't done anything that would make me pregnant. I can't even understand how this happened." Adiba's mother decided not to inform her father yet, because she feared that if he found out, he would scold Adiba severely and might even resort to violence. One night, after returning from work, Adiba's father ate dinner and went to bed early because he was very tired. Adiba went to her mother and said, "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important." Adiba began, "A few days ago, I went on an outing with some of my classmates. Ripon was with us as well. At one point, Ripon and I went for a walk alone. During that time, Ripon gave me a drink. After drinking it, I lost consciousness for a while. I suspect that Ripon might have done something bad to me during that time." Hearing this, her mother finally understood everything. She said, "Yes, Adiba, I think you're right. Ripon has harmed you." Adiba's mother added, "I'm so worried about you now. I don't know what to do. I can't tell your father, nor can I tell anyone else." After some thought, Adiba's mother realized that sitting idle wouldn't solve the problem. She decided to tell her husband everything. She revealed the entire incident to Adiba's father. Upon hearing the truth, Adiba's father was furious. He shouted at her, "You are not my daughter. I refuse to accept you as my child. I despise myself for having a daughter like you." Adiba tried to explain everything to her father. She said, "Dad, I was in a relationship with Ripon, but I never imagined something like this would happen to me. I could never have thought that Ripon would betray me in such a horrible way." Adiba pleaded, "Dad, please forgive me." Her father angrily replied, "Will forgiveness solve everything?" A few days later, Adiba returned to school and told her trusted classmates everything that had happened. However, one of her classmates shared the story with someone else, and from one person to another, the entire school eventually learned about it. Teachers and students alike became aware of Adiba's situation. When Ripon heard about this, he fled from the school. Not only did the news spread throughout the school, but it also reached everyone in Adiba's village. As the saying goes, bad news travels faster than the wind. The scandal spread quickly, and people started pointing fingers at Adiba. The villagers began calling her a bad girl, and every moment of Adiba's life became engulfed in humiliation, ridicule, and hateful remarks. A few days later, Adiba went to the headmaster and said, "Sir, I have something very important to discuss with you." The headmaster replied, "No, Adiba, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to waste my time talking to a bad girl like you. And yes, we've already decided to expel you from this school." Adiba responded, "Sir, you don't know the whole story. I'm not at fault here. It's true that I was in a relationship with Ripon, but I never willingly did anything wrong with him." Adiba then narrated the entire incident to the headmaster. After listening, the headmaster said, "I understand, Adiba." He added, "Even though this wasn't your fault, you shouldn't have gotten into a relationship at this time in your life. Right now, you should be focusing on your studies." Adiba replied, "Yes, sir. I understand that now." Adiba requested the headmaster, "Please take some action regarding Ripon. Since he was a student at this school and hasn't returned since this incident, I urge you to address this matter." A few days later, on the scheduled day, the school's headmaster and other teachers went to Ripon's house. When they reached Ripon's house, they found no one there. After explaining the entire situation to Ripon's neighbors, they learned that Ripon had likely informed his parents about everything, and as a result, Ripon and his parents had fled from the house. The neighbors mentioned that they had noticed no one living in Ripon's house for several days. The school's headmaster informed Adiba's family that Ripon and his family had fled. Meanwhile, Adiba and her parents were also facing immense humiliation and criticism from the people around them. The incident had even reached Adiba's father's workplace, where his manager severely rebuked and insulted him. On another occasion, when Adiba's mother was walking through the village, some women harshly criticized her. They said, "You gave birth to a disgraceful daughter. There's no legitimacy in her birth. If your daughter had been born properly, she would never have committed such a heinous act." Whenever Adiba, her father, or her mother stepped out of their home, they faced similar insults and criticism. What happened next was extremely tragic and heartbreaking. One morning, Adiba's mother entered her room and screamed loudly. Hearing her scream, Adiba's father woke up from his sleep. He asked, "What happened? Why did you scream so loudly?" As he looked toward Adiba's room, his eyes fell upon her, and he began to cry out loud. "What have you done, Adiba? Did you not think even once about what would happen to us?" Adiba had already left this world by then. Lying beside her right hand was a letter. The letter read, "Dear Mom and Dad, I am leaving you forever because I can no longer endure the humiliation and insults. I am going to a place so far away that no one can ever return from there. This society is cruel. People here don't understand the feelings of the heart. They only know how to insult and criticize. Oh, my beloved parents, please forgive me. You both had to endure so much humiliation and insults because of me, which even I couldn't bear. I pray to the Creator that no other girl in this world, nor even my worst enemy, should ever face a fate like mine." Adiba's parents sat beside her lifeless body, crying as they looked at her face filled with tenderness. Even in death, there were still faint traces of tears under her eyes, which showed that she had left this world carrying immense pain and sorrow. And this is where the story ends. However, despite the end of the story, there are several lessons to learn. Suicide is not a solution. No religion supports suicide. Adiba could have strengthened her inner resolve and moved forward in life instead of succumbing to despair. On the other hand, this story shows how cruel and judgmental society can be. When people find one flaw in a person, they exploit it to insult and humiliate them in countless ways. We must first change our perspective and mindset. This story is based on a true incident because such events are happening frequently in our world. Dear audience, those of you who have listened to this entire story, we want to hear from you. Do you think Adiba made the right decision? Was it right for society to humiliate and insult Adiba and her family in this manner? What do you think should be done about people like Ripon, who have such malicious intentions? Please share your valuable thoughts in the comments. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you.